Hi everyone and welcome to another great botanical adventure. The lady that lives here has turned her suburban backyard into an urban farmlet. Marisa, I'm looking out here and I'm thinking to myself, why did you turn your backyard into a place of absolute botanical splendour? I love it.
The biggest trigger was COVID. The whole expanse was kikuia lawn. And during COVID, I started gardening and started bringing in little posies into the office, and people started saying to me, oh, I'd buy those if you were selling them. And that set a little wheel in motion in my head. And so I started thinking about, well, how could I grow more? And the obvious answer was the waste of space that was the lawn. A group of guys came with a big machine, bucking bronco they called it, and they peeled off the lawn, and we went from there. I sort of have a vision in my head of those cottage gardens that everybody has a memory of, their grandma or their grandpa who used to grow flowers in their backyard, and those are the kinds of flowers that I'm growing. I'm not growing individual flowers to sell as a single bunch. I'm growing for a bouquet, so I want the mixture. The good thing about this size property is that I have to have discipline, and I have to be really clear about what it is that I'm growing and for what and why, and also that if it's not working, off you go, my son. Something else is going to be into that space.
You're quite ruthless in the world
indeed,
of the botanics.
indeed.
If you're not performing, you're out.
Everything I grow on the farmlet, I grow from seed. That's how you get to grow the variety of flowers that you don't often see at florists or at the markets. They're already precious to me when they're 3 inches high.
Absolutely.
You know, because I have sown them, I have germinated them, I have tended them, looked after them in the greenhouse and in the workshop, and got them to a height where they're safe to go out into the big wide world. So I'm going to be doing everything I can to make sure that they make it to flowering, and actually when they don't flower, or if they aren't a success like the calendula this year, I tend to take it a little bit personally. My equilegias that I planted, they were getting sunburnt, and I know that they like a little bit of shade, but I thought that this being the shady side, this would be enough shade, but it's the midday sun that absolutely bakes them. And
it's the hottest, isn't it?
It is, and I've got a little selection here as well, and you can see that they're not doing very well because they're still being exposed to the sun. So a couple of waratahs later and a little bit of shade cloth, and you can see how lush and how dark the foliage is now.
Which is how it should be.
Yes, I'm imagining that I will have some flowers coming through shortly, whereas on those other plants they're just struggling and there will be no flowers because they, you know, if they can't,
too hard.
If the leaves aren't happy, then the plant
because they get their nutrients
from
the leaves too, don't they?
Exactly. Here's another experiment with sunflowers. I've put them really close together, and I'm hoping that will make the stems shorter, the heads smaller and more manageable. So far we seem to only run at the 7 foot high sunflowers.
How many days a week do you pick?
About 3 days a week. So I have subscriptions. I'm doing flea markets as well, which have been really popular. Then I've got the deliveries going to the local cakery as well. The more you pick, the more they come. If you leave them, they sort of go, oh, well, she doesn't need so much, so we'll slow down a little bit. But if you're continually picking, then the plants keep on going. Now these have a smell. I'm not sure.
I love these.
I'm not sure that I'm a fan of the marigold smell.
Do you not like that smell? I love that smell.
Last year I grew the orange marigolds, and they grew like trees. They were about this high and they would not stop flowering. And I established that my local market is not a fan of orange. So there's a knack when you've got the net, is that you have to pull down, because if you pull up you strip them. It's called Alstroemeria netting. You put the netting in straight away, and so then the plants grow up through that. It stops everything from travelling and snapping. Picking it lower and getting a couple of buds like that, I'm extending the vase life, because once this one has died, you can just pinch that off, but you've still got 2 more blooms to come in your bouquet. You know, you're trying to generate as much value as you can for your customers, so that they enjoy them and get the longest life out of the flowers. I'm learning about my microclimate, and it didn't have the same timeline as the packet said. I thought I had it all sorted and had planted red and white asters for Christmas. I'm going to have them for Valentine's Day. We live and we learn. It's really hard to have flowers for 12 months of the year, but I'm doing my best. I've got a second plot now where I've planted a lot of the sort of the winter flowers and winter foliage, so I'll have proteas and banksias, grevilleas, those kinds of things where I can be making up a winter type bouquet, but that's still only really going to take me through till the end of autumn and maybe very early winter, but not much more than that. So you know, it's a 12-month a year work, because there's always work to do even if you haven't got flowers, but there's probably June would be the month when I can just fall off the planet for a few weeks
I'm
before
going to bed. Don't disturb me.
Throw that in there. And here this is one of my current favourites.
Zinnias.
But you know, next week it could be something else. When I worked on my parents' flower farm when I was a kid, I mainly worked on the retail side with my mum in the shop, and so I was learning how to make bouquets, how to do the marketing side, I guess, and the presentation. Didn't really have much to do with the growing. I was doing picking and making bouquets, and so I've been learning a huge amount, and I still feel very much like I'm a novice. My girls say to me, "Oh, you know, another course, Mum, really? Do you need to learn any more?" And it's like, I don't think I'll ever learn enough. There's so much energy being wasted on things in the corporate world that it just really made me think, you know, there must be a better way of how I spend my days, and my parents and my kids and my grandson are the most important thing. So this means that I can be more flexible, I can work around my farm and work around my family and be able to do all of those things.